look, it's crazy. But I remember one day in 2020 driving and listening to a Dill Buckley podcast, and Dylan Friends was huge at the time. And I was just thinking, I could do this. And no word of a lie, I was driving to this. I think I was driving to a job that I was working at Action Indoor Sports.
And one in Box Hill?
No. The one in the Western Suburbs in Footscray. So I was doing that, and I was working 2 jobs, and I was also doing my full-time work, which I just graduated from. More on that later. And I remember the drive was about 25 minutes, and I had Dill Buckley's podcast, and it was the first time we'd seen players in this light, and I thought thought Dill did an amazing job, still does a great job, and I just thought I could do this. Not exactly. I was like, I didn't know exactly what it was, but I'm like, I didn't know whether I wanted to be a podcaster, but I'm like, I could definitely do this and find my own tone. And from that, I still remember that day when I was driving and I was like thinking that, and then it was like, I think you just put it in your, like you put it out there, and it somehow you work towards it. And I knew the way to do it was make memes, show your tone, and then slowly start developing the skills that you don't really have at the moment. Well, that's what I was thinking at the time.
I started volunteering.
It's all about who you know in sport.
Am I going to be calling the last 10 seconds of the grand final?
You can connect with the interviewer. The hand goes up when they've got to make a decision.
Having a network is one of the most important things you can do.
I didn't necessarily follow my passion. I followed my curiosity.
Once you've worked in sport, there's no going back.
And then lo and behold, before I left, I got offered 2.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Grad Podcast, the ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry, where I chat with people in the industry and find out how they got hired into dream jobs in sport. If you want to know what people are doing to break in and grow their career, hit subscribe to the podcast and subscribe to our newsletter for even more advice on how to start living the dream in sport. Now, this episode is brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. If you're looking to get started on your journey in sport, explore their study options today. My name is Ruben Williams. I'm the founder of SportsGrad, and we have helped people land 759 roles in sport. Recent shout out goes out to Tom Burbeck up in Queensland, who recently picked up a marketing role with the Sports Tech World Series. So good on you, Tom. Now, if you want to give yourself a competitive advantage in the job market and put your career on a rapid new trajectory, head to the SportsGrad website and you can apply for the next cohort of the SportsGrad Method program. Now, coming up on the show today is the man behind the memes, Uchitha Wijesekara, also known as Cheets, who is the founder and content creator behind TYPEMedia. TYPEMedia boasts over 100,000 followers across Instagram and TikTok, collaborated on posts with Travis Head, and done brand deals with the AFL, KO Sports, Royal Stacks, Toyota, and a whole lot more. But before Cheets became a full-time creator, he graduated from a criminology degree and began a career in social work, editing videos in his spare time. Eventually, his skills got good enough that SportsBet hired him, where he spent nearly 4 years traveling to events like the FIFA World Cup, the Ashes, the Border-Gavaskar Trophy in India, and creating content along the way. Now, he's gone full-time with Type and shares everything that goes into the page you see today. If you want to work in social media, in sport, or just want to understand the content world better, you're going to love this chat with Cheets. Hey guys, before we jump into the episode today, just a quick note to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. But whether you're into sports science, management, coaching, or business, Deakin gives you the chance to study what you love and turn it into a career. Cheets, welcome to the Sports Grad Podcast.
Pleasure to be here, Ruben.
I reckon we first met at the, it was the FIFA World Cup 2022 in Qatar. Yeah. Would have been the Australia versus Argentina game, I reckon.
I think it was before that, because that was the last game, right? And I remember seeing what you did, and I think it's a community, the social community is like, when you see someone doing something a little bit different and putting themselves out there, you just naturally you send them a DM, be like, hey man, love what you do, love the energy. And I think it was one of those ones. Yeah. And then you happened to be there. I didn't know you were there. And it would have been maybe the Tunisia game or one of those games. Yeah. And you're with Scotty, who I knew Scotty.
Yep. Because I remember coming up to you and I was like, we both had like the same sort of, hey, I've seen your stuff.
Yeah.
kind of moment.
Mutual respect.
Yeah. But then like the second time I think we saw each other was at Lords for the Ashes.
It's abroad.
Yeah. And so we'd been to like the FIFA World Cup together and the Ashes at Lords together before we'd even met in Australia.
Yeah. I think you had like 4 Pims on you. Yeah. Like Cheets, can you have some, please? Because I can't drink it all. And I'm like,
Yeah.
my pleasure. Like, this is awesome. I'm
Yeah.
like,
I
free
think-
drinks.
Well, I think I found you with the shipmates.
Yeah,
boys
yeah.
as well.
I think I was there for work, and we were doing some content there, and there was a lot of, I think, shipmates were there too, and we were just like, Test cricket's a long day. You hang about outside, and you pay, $20 for a beer. So no, when I saw you there, it was awesome, and we caught up a little bit, and then you're handing over the Pims was just the icing on the cake, I reckon.
Yeah, well, pleasure to finally get you in here.
Yeah.
3 or so years later now?
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Now we're finally catching up in Australia, which is great.
You recently collaborated with the AFL on a social post, which is huge. Like, if you're a content creator, collaborating with the AFL is probably like the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
How did that come about specifically? We'll go into like your story and a few details.
Yeah.
But in isolation, how
Straight
did that
into
work?
it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pinch me moment, because you look back and, I think I started this journey about 5 years ago, and I go, 5 years ago, if you get a time capsule and you go, hey, this is you collaborating with the AFL on a social post, you're like, what? What have I done here? Am I, like, you just don't know. But then sometimes you're just like, wow, I've been able to develop these skills, and they see something in me, and I always believed in myself in that process. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm like, I kind of knew what I offered, and I'm like, it's not really arrogance, but it's kind of like I was confident that something like this would come. I didn't exactly think it was like the AFL, but I knew I've got the skills. I've got things that I'm working on at the moment. It's just like being in front of camera and being confident. It'll all come together one day, and when it comes, I'm going to be super proud, but take the moment, really. So look, it just came about from just years of work.
How many years?
Look, I started in 2020, I reckon, of doing content as a little side COVID project.
So 5 years from teaching yourself to collaborating with the AFL.
Yeah, I think so. I think naturally, it's funny, the skills that you have, and I was really good at speaking in public. Even in my other career, I was really good at that, and building relationships with people. And I had this, I wanted to get involved in sport, and this is the way I thought was the best way to do it. Because I'll tell you now that I was never going to play professional sport.
You were just telling me that you would do pretty well in Div 12 scene.
Yeah, I thought, Div 12 Resies, look out. The comeback is on. But like at the high level, there's a big difference between playing Div 12 Resies and playing at the professional level. So this was my way of getting involved in the sport, and I just had, look, it's crazy. But I remember one day in 2020 driving and listening to a Dill Buckley podcast, and Dylan Friends was huge at the time. And I was just thinking, I could do this. And no word of a lie, I was driving to this, I think I was driving to a job that I was working at Action Indoor Sports.
And one in Box Hill?
No. The one in the Western Suburbs in Footscray. So I was doing that, and I was working 2 jobs, and I was also doing my full-time work, which I just graduated from. More on that later. And I remember the drive was about, 25 minutes, and I'm like, and I had Dill Buckley's podcast, and, it was the first time we'd seen players in this light, and I thought, thought Dill did an amazing job, still does a great job, and I just thought, I could do this. Not exactly, I was like, I didn't know exactly what it was, but I'm like, I didn't know whether I wanted to be a podcaster, but I'm like, I could definitely do this and find my own tone. And from that, I still remember that day when I was driving, and I was like thinking that, and then it was like, I think you just put it in your, like you put it out there, and it somehow you work towards it. And I knew the way to do it was make memes, show your tone, and then slowly start developing the skills that you don't really have at the moment. Well, that's what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah. Well, well done on the AFL collab.
Yeah.
It took you 5 years to become an overnight success, which I'm sure we'll dive into now. But I love hearing just the body of work that goes into getting to where people go.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would love to be in your position. So let's dive into it. Before we go more into your journey, we do start these episodes with a few quickfire questions so people can get to know more about you. So first one for you, what was your first ever job?
First ever job. I used to work at this is before Netflix. I'm not that old, okay? I'm 1994, so 30 years old. You do the math. So this is before Netflix, Blockbuster, and all that kind of stuff still existed, which is wild. When I say this, people think I'm like a dinosaur. But there was a store that was like a video store hybrid. Like, you can go in there, rent DVDs and stuff. And it was also a cafe. And mind you, I was 18. This is my first proper job. But before that, I used to sell footy records. Nice. That was just like a real casual. But I reckon I still use some of the skills there of like just being out there, get your records, $5, just to have the balls to do that, and then have like friends and stuff walk past and just not give a shit. Still applies here with content. But my first proper job was like, literally working in a cafe, basically also, which was also like a Blockbuster type of thing.
You need to get in touch with SEN and Spark Event Group who employ all the casual footy record sellers.
I think mine was like I would have been working at Footy Records in 2009, 8,
Yep.
so 14 or 15. Best experience because you go down there's like a little car park area where you'd always huddle around with the other guys. And the players would walk through, and quite often you get like the Brendan Goddard, Jimmy Bartel, and like footy players are generally pretty nice when they see kids.
Yep.
They're like, they're happy to have a chat, take photos. And it was just like the best feeling when you're a sports nuffy and you're 14, 15. You're like, hey, how are you? Hachi was a funny one too. He was really good. He was always trying to snatch a free record. And now, look, he owns it.
Records.
He owns it, yeah.
Well, you probably sold me one of those records behind me. There's a pile of old ones.
Not at the MCG. It was at Marvel Stadium. So,
yeah, Hawks fans don't travel too well.
Nah, you don't. Generally, it was North Melbourne, Essendon, Bulldogs. Yeah, they were the ones.
What did you study at university?
I did criminal justice. Really random. Yeah. But I did that. So it's funny so I got into uni, got into law, didn't like it, dropped out, then went to TAFE just to keep my parents happy, and did this thing called Justice. It's like the diploma of justice, and I'm like, well, it keeps me busy, keeps my parents off my back. And then I developed like a good group of mates there, and then I'm like, oh, you know what, I'll do this at uni, and ended up finishing it, and then I tried to do a master's, did about halfway in, and I was like, I had full-time work at the point. Your priorities change, and you're like, I wasn't big on education, well, not formal education, going to uni and having those fees to pay off. I was like,
What was your master's in?
It was social work.
Okay.
That's what it was. I had to think about that because I'm like, was it public policy or something like that? It was some of the classes there was just like, it's crazy to think. I wonder if there's people that were used to sit next to me going like, hey, I know that guy. What, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that guy doing? There's probably people that I used to work with when I used to do counselling. They just go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, funny world.
Favorite sporting moment that you have been to live?
Been to live? Yeah. Oh my God, without a shadow of a doubt. It was when Paddy Cummins and Nathan Lyon were batting at Edgbaston. And this was a couple of years ago, felt like last year.
Yeah.
And I'd never been overseas to watch a sporting event before, like obviously Qatar, but cricket, this is like a different level because I grew up loving cricket and being there and seeing, like, when you're in Australia, you're always a majority here. When you're over there in England, especially Edgbaston, which is, I reckon, the equivalent of like an Adelaide Oval, it's hostile. And everyone was hating you. Everyone was hating us. And there was no chance we were going to do it. And Paddy Cummins and Lyon just like dug deep. And it was incredible. I still have I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it. It was an amazing moment. Shout out to Flanners. I remember sharing that moment with him. And I don't think I've ever cheered for Australia as hard as I did then. That was massive.
I remember where I was when that moment happened too. So to be there live would have been incredible.
Incredible.
Do you have a favourite book or podcast that's helped you with your career?
I'm not a big reader, but I've been meaning to read Piss Ants by Brandon Jack.
Oh, yeah. Yep. He's
a good man, but I actually not a big reader. I've probably read 5 or 6 books in my life. I just struggle, but I do read a lot of like Andre Agassi. I've read a few sports autobiographies, but even the Lance Armstrong one, when before everything, I guess all the news broke, which is quite interesting now looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm a big doco guy. Used like ESPN 30 for 30.
Yep.
I just love that. But yeah, I wouldn't say any books have been influential.
What about one particular doco that you would go back and watch time and time again for, say, inspiration?
Oh, inspiration. I love The Last Dance. That was incredible. That's one of the best. I know it's very cliche to say that. The Michigan 5 is a really good one. Okay. I'm not sure if people are aware of that, but it's basically about the 5 Michigan basketballers that were all almost 5-star recruits. So when you come out of high school, you are given 4-star, 5-star, and they had 5 freshmen who were just like first-year uni students or college students, and they were all starting for their basketball team. And it grapples the whole thing of like, college athletes weren't paid and they were kind of, they had all these posters of these athletes and these guys were eating 2-minute noodles. But they had swagger and they had style, and the way they went about it was really cool. And I just like the whole element of, this is who I am. It's more than just playing sports. It's just like, this is my swagger. And I love that about sport. And that's probably why I like The Last Dance, is because you see Michael is more than an athlete. He's just like this enigma. So I love those sports docos that are like that.
And if you had 30 minutes to pick the brain of anybody, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. That is really, really, really tough, because I always go to sport. But there's amazing people all around the world. But like, you've stumped me here. Michael Jordan.
Yep.
Just his mindset is crazy, and I'm just like, I'm trying to adopt that mindset in other things. Like, I'm obviously I'm not out there jacking up 1,000 shots with basketball, but I just think I see the good and bad in that. But I was just like trying to break it down in terms of that obsession and like ability just to put that time in and to be the best. And I know it sounds crazy because like I don't use that in a sports thing, but in terms of the content space, I think you have these goals and ambitions, and you want to put more time in and be the best. Yeah,
so you get your reps in a different way.
In a different way, and I think it's also keeping that like swagger and style and being who you are. So that's a big part. And I think MJ's not a perfect person, but I think his mindset's like is crazy. And I'm a LeBron guy too, so like I just think it's quite interesting. But yeah, like I think in terms of outside of sport, that's tricky. I'm just, I'll get back to that.
No worries. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's the end of the quickfire questions. But keen to kind of dive into the work that you do, because you are now up to I think 55,000 followers on Instagram. I reckon when we met, you were probably at around 9,000 or so.
Yeah, crazy.
I literally caught you being spotted in the street on Swan Street in a weird moment where you just happened to be walking past these two kids going, "Oh, that's a guy from TikTok." Yeah. And I was walking out of Zambreros behind you at the same time. And
you're
like,
wild.
What's going on? So keen to dive into how you get to that point. But one thing I'd love to highlight is just how hard you work and the hours that you work as well. So 2023, Australia win the Cricket World Cup, and Travis Head messages you from Ahmedabad straight after the game. What does he say to you, and how does that lead to this like bit of content that blew up off the back of that? Hey guys, quick one. Are you either A, dreading going back to work tomorrow, or B, on a mission to fulfill your potential and get there as quickly as possible? If so, then you need to apply for the SportsGrad Method program. The program is designed to help you get a full-time job in sport as quickly as possible, and inside it, I distill the lessons I've learned from asking over 300 people how they got a job in sport. I'm talking professionals from the AFL, Premier League, cricket, NBA, Olympics, you name it. And I've combined it with the methods that not only got me hired by Cricket Australia before graduating, but also helped me double my salary during COVID. SportsGrad has helped people land over 700 roles in sport, and this program takes the guesswork out of an industry where most people think you need to get lucky. To apply for the SportsGrad Method program, head to www.sportsgrad.com.au/program. All right, back to the episode.
Pretty cool. I think the pretext is like, it wasn't just a random. I think we had beers, and when India played Australia, we had beers. Like, thankfully, like one of the experiences of working for something like SportsBet is like, they've done some stuff with the Grubs, and some of them have connections with the players, and we built a good relationship there after a couple cordials, and he was just really nice, down to earth guy, and I think I think one thing I would always say is just be yourself when you're around these people. Don't try to be. I think it's like the fan element of it is like, this is amazing. Oh, you're trying to impress them. But I think you just be yourself, be authentic. People resonate with that well. And I think I just got along well with him. And we kept in touch here and there with a few DMs, just about all sorts of stuff, whether it's Port Adelaide, because he's a big Port guy, or whatever it is. And then I think I made some memes. I had no expectation of like him hitting me up or doing anything for him. I think that's another thing as well. I think everyone thinks it's transactional, and everyone thinks if you know a celebrity, there's got to be something that you can try and get out of them. Don't be like that. But yeah, Travis, he had an interrupted World Cup, so I don't think many people know that. He came in without much preparation. He'd just come off an injury, and when he came in, he turned the whole World Cup around for Australia. He came in, he smashed it. He absolutely smashed it. And I made some memes leading up like that World Cup final, I knew that Travis was the narrative here. And you kind of anticipate how the game's going to go. And I think I made a few wrestling memes with Travis Head coming in and just smashing everyone. And that went well. And there was a few others that I did because he took that really nice catch in the outfield when Sharma was dismissed. This is my brain, right? But basically what happened was I did a full night of work, and then the times are just stuffed, right? So I'm like, all right, my day's done. I'll wait for the game to finish. I'm just sitting on the couch watching it.
What time is this that you're at?
Probably like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m.
Right.
And I'm
working
like,
on SportsBet stuff.
No. I'd already the idea with SportsBet was get some stuff done there. There's all these restrictions because they're a gambling company. Then IP use, they couldn't do the stuff that I did, which is why I was doing double the work. I'm like, cool. There's some stuff that I can do there. SportsBet was done. And then it was like, and they were really happy with it, knocked it out of the park. And then it's like, this is type time.
Yeah. From 12 till 3.
Well, like you just find you do something. You're like, what's the type spin on this? What's the SportsBet spin on this? So you're making double the content, which is bloody crazy because you're just working. It's like two people working, but you get used to it. And then I just settle down, relaxed. I'm watching watching the game, and like, oh, the Aussies are batting. Fell asleep for half the innings. Wake up to like Travis smashing it around. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And he smashed him at 100. And I already had these pre-made things ready to go. And I'm like, perfect, done, posted, awesome. And I jumped on as well, editing at like 4 a.m., 4:30. The game had just finished. Posted these like ones for type with no message from Travis at that point. I'm like, yep, done. Like, and sometimes at the point of, like, you love making content, but it gets to a point where it's like I'm relieved when it's kind of finished to be like, oh, I had a really productive day.
At 5 a.m.
At 5 a.m. I'm like, I need to sleep. I did some great stuff for sports, but I did great stuff for myself. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep. I tried to go to sleep, and then my phone flashes as I was about to hop into bed, and I just see Hetty's like, hey, man, I need you to work some magic. And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, this is insane. And I'm like, I think my partner was sleeping at the time, and I'm just like, I'm getting up. I'm going to do this. Yeah. And then he's like, I'm like, what do you want, man? What are you after? And he's like, oh, man, like, the bad boys this. And he just gave me this, like, really vague picture. And I'm like, leave it with me. I'll put it on. And funny enough, like, I did it, and I had Virat as, like, the villain. And he's like, nah, don't do Virat, because, like, Hetty's a good dude. And Hetty, I think, is not about sinking the boots in. And me, the smart-ass Aussie fan, I'm like, nah, sink him. But he's like, obviously, I think he plays with these guys. He's got a lot of mutual respect.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, let's not do that. He's like, do McDonald instead, like just for fun, just do, because he's obviously got a good relationship with the coach. So I'm like, okay, we'll do that. And then he goes, yeah, that's awesome. And like, he's sending me photos of like him having beers and stuff. And I'm like, man, he's just intoxicated right now, as he should be. And then he goes, yeah, awesome. I'm posting. So do you want me to collab with your personal account? I'm like, no, don't collab with my personal. Probably should have said, yeah, do that as well.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is weird as. And he goes, no, I'll collab with your type. And I'm like, awesome. Accepted. And it was posted. And I'm like, I need sleep. I can look over this. I wake up
what time did you?
I reckon it was at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And went to sleep. Got up at like 10.
So you busted that out in like an hour.
Yeah, I was quick.
Yeah.
I was quick. I was in the zone. Like I think it was also the adrenaline of like, he's hit me up.
Yeah.
I'm focused on this.
Yeah.
And I was already tired, but I'm like, whatever, man. This is like incredible. So I woke up at 10 o'clock. It's like 4 hours. And, the SportsBet guys were like, oh, he did an amazing job. And it's like, how was that Travis had? Have you slept? And I'm like, nah. They're like, they were astonished too. They're like, what the hell? Like, how is he doing? But you just get used to it. And then I look up and I'm like, oh my God, I got all these inboxes from all these random Indian fans just being like, calling me basically a motherfucker and all this kind of stuff. Mutterchok, I think, or something like that. I still know it, which is wild.
Yep.
But it was wild. And then I saw Sky News had picked it up and said, look at Travis Head, like, how funny is this? And it was surreal. Like, I just recently like sent him a message too about it. I'm like, man, it was like one of the coolest experiences of my life. Like, I wouldn't say it's like the biggest, but it's like a cool, surreal, like, on top of the world, this guy's everywhere, and he's kind of just hit me up. And to have that opportunity to like kind of show my skills on a platform like that was just, it's incredible. The amount of confidence that it gives you. I remember like going for a walk to get a coffee at like 10, 11, and I'm like walking around, I'm like, oh, like this is crazy. This is so cool.
Like the guy who's won the World Cup for Australia has
Yeah.
like hit you up to be like, I want you to make something for us.
And I just couldn't believe it. And it was just like, you get so much confidence in that, and you're like, you believe in yourself so much to be like, okay, I've got this thing that I make that's quite unique. There are incredibly talented people around the world but I had that opportunity to do it.
Yep.
And like, one thing is that there's a lot of doubt that comes in when you do these kind of things, but I'll forever be grateful for those kind of moments, because whenever you're down, you just think of that to be like, hey, I did that.
Yep.
That's fucking cool.
Yep.
And you be in that moment and you're just like, man, I back myself to do it.
Yep. You're like, if I ever get sad, Travis Head, hit me up.
Yeah. If I ever get like into like, you get writer's block and everything like that, you're just kind of like, man, I was able to do that, roll up the sleeves and just get to work.
I have so many questions on how you like found the energy at like midnight after already doing a day's work. Like,
Yeah.
First quick one, like, do you just like smash coffee, or like you just on a high? How do you pull yourself back to your desk to have the focus?
Coffee's strictly like morning or sometimes afternoon. I might have one, but I don't smash it. I don't smash energy drinks. I get into a zone and it's like, it's weird. Like, I just go, because I started doing this because I loved it, and I used to spend hours, and I remember early days I would spend hours keyframing things and it would look like shit. But I would enjoy it so much, and it would get like 10 likes. But I'm like, I think I just loved the process. And then it became a bit of a dopamine hit of like when you're posting it and you're getting all these likes and stuff like that. And then it was like, okay, what's my point of difference is that I put a bit of extra time into these things rather than posting a highlight clip.
Yeah.
And I go,
they're not quick edits.
They're not like quick ones where you rip off some. I'm like, nah, I want to showcase as much skill as I can, but still be timely. The process is basically, I think what keeps me going is like, just because I know how much I love it. This is where I draw the parallels of like athletes that are obsessive. Like I think I get like that with this, where I'm like, I'm not here to be like, just give a motivational speak to anyone that's making content. But I think it's just like, you enjoy what you do. Genuinely, you like enjoy what you do. You find that energy. You go into your reserve. But the key part of this is like, be really present, because sometimes you can get fixated. I found myself like talking about content and stuff everywhere, and it's just like find other habits to kind of help you just separate the two. Because like, I sometimes forget, like I'm also a partner, I'm a son, I'm a brother, and it's like, okay, the whole world doesn't revolve around you. I think it's probably like one of the things. The downside of that is like when you start doing this, this is everything, this is all you know. But then, your connections and relationships with people, everything has to go around this. It's a tricky one, but it's a learning experience.
Yeah. Well, often when people are so obsessed with a particular thing, it's usually because they've got some broader vision of like where they want to get to in the future.
Yeah.
That like just propels them forward.
Yeah.
What was that for you a couple of years ago that allows you to get up and keep working at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning?
I think it's all a gradual process, right? So if you want to go back to the day when I first started, it was just like, COVID, everyone was doing all sorts of stuff. I created this page just because I wanted to, I did a bit of editing, but I'm like, I wanted to do sports stuff, and then created something where it just grew, and SportsBet, Hammy would hit me up and be like, hey mate, you should apply for this job. I'm like, I don't fucking apply for this job. I also had, there was a lot of other stuff as well, like the ethical thing, but I'm like, I don't want to apply for this job. Like, what is it? They're just going to pay me like 20 grand a year to make some memes. But then like it was proper gig. So you get that once you keep getting validated for your skills and something that you started from nothing, that's what keeps you going. Like I went from making memes on my phone to like developing skills to get a job at SportsBet, where I was kind of like a novice editing on like Sony Vegas, which is basically like what all like 15-year-old streamers or guys that do, when they show their COD highlights do. To like now I'm using Premiere Pro and like just this industry standard stuff. But like, yeah, I think when you can constantly hit these milestones where you get validated, like for example, the AFL deal, like these things just keep giving you more confidence to go, the work is getting rewarded. Just keep at it. I think that's what it was. I think even if that doesn't happen, I think there's like big gaps where it doesn't. It's fine, because try and remind yourself of a time where, you know, like reflect back on it and be like, oh, how much have I improved? I think it's just a lot of it is like self-talk, to be able to be like, validate yourself, to be like, hey, this is where I was 5 years ago. This is where I am now. And like, I think I've got a good group of people around me to help that. So that's what keeps me like up at like 5 a.m.
Yep.
doing all these stuff.
Yeah, well, that feeling must be so strong, because like I see it in all the footy content that you do as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, literally 10 minutes after a game's finished, you're already on there with a meme straight away, and you know, still posting memes at midnight, 1 a.m. You're like, I just want to put memes out. And everyone loves you for it. So
it's wild. Yeah,
but that's really cool that you've got that internalized feeling to keep you going. You are a social worker turned meme daddy.
Meme daddy. Yeah.
How did that happen?
Meme daddy chill. I don't know why. It's my brain at the moment. It's really interesting. So like I said, I went to uni, did all this, and I come from a family where it's like education's so valued, and I think low socioeconomic background. You're like, okay, you need to go to uni, you need to get a degree, you need to get a work that's like, you know, puts food on the table, security, safety, and then you're like, okay, this is great. I was pretty good at school. Not the smartest kid, but I was able to apply myself to just, you know, critically think about things. And I think uni was appealing in that sense, the ability to kind of like see things differently. And then, so I really liked it and appreciated it. And then, but it wasn't me. We were never pushed to a creative part. So like, you know, creative jobs never paid the bills traditionally, right? So it was like, be a social worker. So initially was I finished my criminal justice degree, and then I was doing my master's, and like while I was doing my master's, you're applying for jobs because you've got a degree, and then I got a job working in corrections, and it's kind of like as a case manager, and a lot of it is like reintegrating back into the community, or like if anyone gets like a corrections order, how they serve that. So it was like it was interesting, it was challenging, like you know, you're kind of like brokering all these things and talking to them. And, talking to guys that are on TCOs, whether it's like domestic violence or like all sorts of things, right? And that's heavy. When you're in your early 20s, that's heavy. And I probably didn't know how to deal with that stuff. And I'm like, well, this is what I studied for. This is my whole life now. And I was like, I was playing footy. Footy was my escape. And I just thought, this is not for me, but still do it. And then I'm like, you know, I think the beauty of having good relationships with people from like footy and whatnot. So I would have always take a leaf out of your book and been like, lean on networks. I had a dude that I played footy against, and he was a team leader in this youth work called Wijesekara. It's like a youth advocacy service, basically early intervention to stop youth crime. And he was a team leader, and he knew my background. He's like, mate, do you want to come over here? And good dude. And he's like, and I'm like, yeah, of course. I don't want to be doing this stuff because it's like I'm working with like heavy shit. I mean, not to say like the kids was pretty heavy stuff as well, but it's like early intervention. And this is a guy that I played footy against. And just the pure of just like, you know, hey, I played footy against him, really nice dude, really involved in the community, doing heaps. And from there, like you feel when you're around an environment, a work environment that allows you to be yourself, even if it's a completely different environment, like from there, that's when TYPEMedia really started to take off. Like during COVID was when I was still working for working for Department of Justice. So it was cool because I was working from home and I'm just like making memes on the side. But then when I worked as a youth worker, it was really cool because you'd have a couple days where you're like, you can kind of chill. And then, you know, my boss would encourage me and be like, this is awesome that you're doing it. And I think getting that confidence from people that you work with or people there, be like, that's really funny. That's awesome. That's cool, dude. Like it gives you, you know, you're like, oh, this is awesome. My boss is sick. And I only worked as a youth worker for a short period of time, but I still value that. I'm like, that was a really cool environment, good people, really like nice boss to kind of encourage that. And then obviously it was there for like a year, and then I was still making memes and stuff on the weekends and like was able to break my time really well. And then the opportunity to work at SportsBet came, and I was really sad to go because I felt like I finally found my place where I was like helping kids, actively involved. But then I'm like, there's this creative interest on the side where I'm like, I may never get this opportunity again. And then there was also the thing of like, you know, gambling company, and it's like, well, I'm helping kids and stuff here ethically. What's going on here? Like, so I had to have a chat.
Before we continue on to the SportsBet part, just wanted to acknowledge that part of your career because I didn't know that about you
until
recently. But the reason why I wanted to acknowledge it was because for those who know me and what I've been through with the whole assault stuff, you've been one of the most understanding and empathetic people through it. And it's clear now how you have that understanding of what actually goes on in the world. So I just wanted to say,
oh, thanks, man.
Thank you for that.
No, I appreciate that.
Because like I talk to a lot of people about it, and not everyone understands, but you've obviously seen some shit and understand what goes out there. So
no, I appreciate that, man. So it's easy to forget just because of the world that we're in. Oh, well, like what I'm doing at the moment. I think like that's where I came from career-wise, and I think it helped shape the person I am. Would love to do something along the lines of that someday. But yeah, look, it got me to this path where I'm like now, fully invested in this creative hobby that started out as a hobby and now like a full-time job, which is crazy. So that was basically what it was. So it was like being surrounded by good people, doing youth work, and then fast forward, got an opportunity to work at SportsBet. I had to have these conversations, and then here I am now.
Yeah. What was the time period between just making memes on the side and getting employed by SportsBet?
So 2020 was when I started, and I think making memes.
Yep.
And I just remember I still go back and I'm like, there's this funny ass logos that I created off like PixArt. Shout out PixArt, which is great. And then I think the best thing for me, it all comes down to relationships with people. Like even when I was doing type, the best thing that happened to me.
Just quickly, what's that number? Like how long between?
2020, probably a year and a half.
Year and a half. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I want to draw attention to that is because so many people ask like, how do we get into social media or whatever?
It's a long time. Yeah. It could be quicker though nowadays. Back then it wasn't.
You can definitely learn quicker now.
Yeah, you can learn way quicker. You don't. It's not like that. Like I didn't have the intention of. It's funny. I never had the intention of making it a full-time gig. Never had. I was like, this is going to be so much fun just to fuck around with. And I'm a youth worker, but then maybe there's a way that I can do youth work and kind of mix this. I didn't think that was going to take over. So I didn't have the sole intention of going and getting hired by SportsBet. I didn't go on LinkedIn. I didn't put any of this thing down. So I just, the thing that I wanted was just to be able to be involved in the game in a different way. Like whether it be, I always wanted to do this thing where it's like the light aspect of footy and using pop culture and stuff to kind of commentate around it, which is what I'm doing now.
Yep.
But I didn't think it was a full-time opportunity back then because the landscape is different. Even in 2020, 2021, you didn't have many creators. Like you had Dill Buckley, who was like the first. And Dan, they were doing the list clogger stuff, which was very inspiring. You're like, oh, that's cool because it's a different way to look at footy. But you didn't have like hey, I do this 6 months later, I'm going to be like that. It took 18 months really I think 12 to 18 months for it to be like a full-time thing.
Yeah, yep. And then like what Marmalade Boys kind of started popping up as well. And
I think so. I think as we got out of the COVID bubble, I think people realized the importance of like, content, like Kick It Forward, do a really good job. Marmalade, Dill Buckley,
Jared Davis goes on an angle as well now.
Yeah, I think a lot of Will Taylor, another one. There's a lot of talented people, and I think I think it's like the American model. We see like Logan Paul, see all these guys, and then you go on a smaller scale. It's like happening here, and I think there's more money in the industry now, so I think there's people want to do it.
Yeah, and brands are starting to invest in that to allow people to do
which is look, I don't mind it, but I just it gets frustrating because I think people are doing it for the wrong reasons. People go, oh, it's easy, quick money grab. I'm like, no, just like enjoy the process. Like I was doing it for fuck all. Like I'm still doing it. Like I'm getting deals and stuff now, which is cool. But like there's a period of time where I'm just doing this. I don't care. Like those edits that I do after a game, people think I get paid money to do that. I don't. I just do it because I love it, and I like if I can make someone's day by seeing that, or like have a tone of voice where it's like we don't see that in traditional media. I'm more than happy, but I don't get paid doing that.
No, but now you do.
Well, like, it kind of adds to the brand. So directly, it doesn't directly pay. I don't directly get paid from those videos. But people go, oh, that's TYPEMedia. That's cool. people start to like understand your tone of voice.
Yep.
And then when you start to put skits out, with brands associated,
Yeah.
it still aligns with that
Yep.
video. So I think I look at it deeper than that got me no money, but I'm like, no, that got me some eyeballs.
Yep.
And someone watching that video is more understanding of my tone.
I want to ask about your creative process, because you mentioned that Travis Head video took you an hour at 5 a.m. to whip up.
Yeah.
One person who broke down their creative process really well on this podcast was Jacob Gaynor, head of content at the GWS Giants. Came on the podcast back in episode 286. And he spoke about how he's like constantly saving inspiration for a future date, or saving ideas for a future date. So he talked about these like set of folders that he's got everywhere.
Yeah.
For example, if GWS lose, what meme goes out? If they win, if it's raining, if it's a grand final. And he talked about like this golden meme that he's like, yeah, one day I'm going to get to use this meme and it'll be the best thing ever, but he won't tell me what it is. And that allows him in the moment to just go bang, meme. What are some of those like hacks and tips and tricks that you use for yourself?
Same thing, really. When I heard him say that, I'm like, that's funny, because I do the same thing. But what I like to do is like, I always go, what can be replicated? Because I always think of competition. I always go, many people can do what you like. Someone can find a clip, go, oh, that's relatable to this. That's why I try to make these like well-produced videos with like 4 or 5 memes in them, because no one can do that.
Yep.
And if they were to do that, kudos to them, because they've put the time. Like what Jacob does is like, it's great, because he's got a feel for it, and like that's a narrative, and he's got the clip, and he'll go one clip for that.
Yep.
I used to do that, but I always want a challenge to be like, can I do multiple? I always try to go like, because he's working for GWS.
Yep.
So like all he has to do is hit the sentiment, and he's landed it. He finds a clip, lands it. For me, I find it challenging, because I'm still trying to make people go, I saw that meme. That meme is directly linked to TYPEMedia. I don't want, last thing I want people doing is like seeing a meme. Like if I post a meme, it's just a meme itself. I don't want people being like, oh, I saw this meme, I just don't know where I got it from. I want people to have that feel. It's like the brand, where I think he doesn't need to think about that too much, because what he's doing for the Giants, it's not done really around other clubs. So if he posts something, people automatically go, oh, GWS posted that.
Yep.
It's different. But if every club was posting stuff like that,
Yep.
you'd have to find a way to have a point of difference with memes.
So are you trying to brand TYPEMedia with like the same kind of memes regularly?
No, it's not necessarily memes. It's just a tone. Like
Okay.
there's certain things that you can do differently. Like whether it's like the beanie on the head.
Yeah.
You know,
that's when I first discovered you. I think that's probably what you're first known for, right?
Yeah.
Like the beanie head guy.
But that's the thing, right? And it's like, oh, you can why don't you just put the logo? It's quicker. And I'm like, no. Because if you put the beanie on the head, people can also like immediately link it to you. And that's what you're trying to do. And it's the hardest thing, because you're not on camera. If you're not on camera, the ability to become like to build the brand is so much harder, because there's like, in the internet's a big place. Like, oh, I saw that funny thing, I just don't know who put it out. When people go like, nah, I love TYPEMedia, they do this stuff with the things, or like The Simpsons. You have to find something that's a bit more of like a signature. It goes beyond a watermark.
Yeah.
I still put watermarks on there, because like some people still rip stuff off and post it.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond a watermark. You need to have your signature touch. And Jacob, I can see the way he thinks, the way he does these things. But I think like as a footy club, at the moment you do something like that, you've got your trademark. He's already established that, and kudos to him, because he was the first to do it. Now I know St Kilda and stuff do it, but anytime people see footy club do memes, they will automatically assume it's GWS.
Yeah. Even in like other sort of creative spaces, like say education, I've seen one guy who's a careers coach who he'll be giving advice, and he's got his pencil, and on the end of his pencil is like a Yoda, toy or whatever, and people just know him as like, oh, he's got the Yoda pencil.
Exactly.
And that's just his things to stick in people's mind.
And when you're a creator, you need to find. I know we're in such a copycat world where you go, oh, that guy did a really good job. No. You got to find something that sticks with you. Like you might copy the concept, like memes it's been done a million times, right? But then it's like, how do you make it something that's connected to your brand? How do you make it something of yours? So find ways, even if it's subtle ways, rather than just putting a watermark over it, just find ways to kind of go, it's a TYPEMedia piece.
Yeah. So I want to get real brass tacks here, but like, what are the names of some of your folders?
Oh, that's funny. Umpires' decisions, which is hilarious. Most of it, I got to be careful with that because I don't really like shitting on umpires. But the reality is sometimes calls and stuff, you just got to capture it. Like sometimes it's like, how did you not see that? And like I still in the back of my head, I just know all the files in that folder too. Another one is like coming back from like a big loss. Another one is miss kicks, like really inaccurate team. The most go-to clip that I always have is Long Came Polly when he's just basically missing all those shots. He's like, make it rain. I don't know if you've seen it. Where
I know you bring up the clip of like bad kicking is bad football.
Bad kicking is bad football. But that was something that I trademarked. So I'll have that same song. There was an instrumental I used that's from Nux, who's just his hip-hop artist. And it's just like it's that violin piece. And it's like kind of sad. And I used to always have bad kicking is bad football. And I'd just combine reactions of people being like, oh no. And that became my trademark for anytime a team would kick poorly, I would clip it up, put some reaction shots in there, and I'd have that song, and people would be like, "Oh my god, this is hilarious." Yeah. Tricky to do though, but that was something that I'm like, well, that's what I do. But my folders are pretty crazy. I've got to organize it like better.
Can we hear 5 more?
Oh, some crazy ones. Okay. Off-season scandals.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, off-season scandals. But like, that's a tricky one to use because you don't want to make sure, like, if someone's rocked up and like had an injury or something, that's like that's a fake injury. There's some other stuff going on. Another ones are. I'll give you a few more. There's another one that I had was trades and free agents. That's a good one. There's really good ones there, like signing contracts and what is another one? Teams getting flogged, like sad, happy. They're the basic ones. And the umpire ones are the ones that usually always go well. But I'm kind of like, it's not as fun.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like your process of doing this is very much on the event in the game as opposed to like Simpsons memes, Seinfeld memes.
Yeah, I kind of know them off the back of my heart. So I'm like, if I'm overdoing Simpsons, I'm like, I just kind of like lay off a little bit. I don't think you could, like, I don't folder them like that. I like the emotions.
Yeah.
And I think I see Jacob too today. He posted this thing. He's got win versus Hawthorn, loss versus Hawthorn. And sometimes I used to do that as well. Like for specific games, I'd be like, what's a win? What are some of the narratives?
Yep.
What's loss? But it's just too much. For him, I saw it and I'm like, I think win against Hawthorn, he had like 64 files in there, and loss v Hawthorn, it's like 2 files. You see it? Very clever. But I was like,
he posted this today.
He posted this today on their socials, and get that up. I'll get the screenshot for you, but it's really, really funny.
I'll have to clip that up because it's directly related to the quote.
I just went, I'm like, this is the most accurate thing ever, because I used to be like, I used to have this whenever I used to go to the footy, because I'm Collingwood supporter. I'm like, I'd get real toey and I'm like, I don't have things. So I'd already have things made. Yeah, sometimes I'd miss the mark, but sometimes I'd just be bang on because you can read the narrative and you'd be like, well, this is what's going on here.
Yep.
Dacos probably going to be crucial, going to be close game.
Yep.
And then you have it all kind of ready and then you put it together on your phone really quickly. Like, but it's already pre-built.
Yep.
You just like file it up together.
Yep. Do you have a few different platforms that you use for when you're on your phone versus when you're at home?
When I'm on my phone, CapCut, InShot, but I've already got most of the work done. And then sometimes I have my mate, shout out, he just kind of clips stuff. He'll be like, I'm like, hey, can you clip this moment? He's like, yeah, sweet. I'll just jump on the computer and he'll clip some stuff. And it's tricky. Like I've been to a few games, but sometimes I just like leave it as well. I might put a story up, be like, "Hey, out of office,"
okay.
as a joke, because I'm like, you know what? It's a one man band. Like, it's people don't realize this with TYPEMedia. It's like, I've got a good group of mates, and I've brought my mate on who's filming heaps of stuff on now, which is amazing as a weapon. But in terms of like the memes and stuff, like I do it all myself, and it's hectic.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like, "What is the Port Adelaide meme video?" And I'm like, bros, I need to sleep, man. Like, I'm tired.
Yeah. I think I asked you earlier this season, like, when do you actually get to go to a game yourself? Because, if you're not behind your computer waiting for the match to play out on TV, like, the memes don't happen. So, like, when do you get to enjoy sport?
I've been to about 5 games this year, which is not too bad.
Well, compared it to Marmalade, it's been to about 60.
60, but they're solid content. They're smart. Like, Checkers he'll shoot something on the ground and he'll put some text over it and it'll go nuts. And then I get jealous of that because I'm like, I kind of want to get to a point where I'm like,
I made the wrong theme of content here.
yeah. But I also love what I do. But, the evolution, I don't know how that looks. Does that mean less memes? I don't want to do that. But, if you're going to naturally evolve, you want to just do different things. And that just means maybe I don't sit behind a computer as much. But then again, it's like that's what I do really well.
Yeah.
So just grappling this at the moment.
What are some of the content ideas that live in the TYPEMedia graveyard?
Graveyard, they're not. Nothing's really in the graveyard. That's what I always say. Nothing. They all can come back to life. There's a whole lot. I probably don't want to share too much because I think there's a few that's like in the works, and I know how this creative stuff works.
Yep.
The moment you blurt an idea, there's one that's going to be top line. I can't wait to do it. It's been around for a while. Think of Strawny. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. Think of Strawny, but it's going to be brilliant.
That was like peak footy days for me.
Before the game was like my inspiration. I love Before the Game.
Yeah.
Just had 4 comedians on there. Like, was it Limo, Mick Malloy, Hughesy, and Ryan Fitzgerald, who was on, and they were just funny as hell. Like, so good.
I was at a party with Limo and Andy Marr the other week. I was in heaven. I was like, I love Before the Game.
Yeah, it was a good balance. I'm like, you don't need. I think that's what inspired me. Where I'm like, you don't need to be an ex-footballer. Like, I like the footy show was all right for a period of time, but then it just became this whole exclusive. Hey, I played footy. So my opinion matters more than you. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like,
when they lost Trevor Marmalade.
Trevor Marmalade was elite. Like, you want that factor of like, all right, I don't have to be a footy player, or I don't have to be that. It's like it was like too cool. Where Before the Game felt like it was like it's classic nerdy, fun.
Yep.
Tool of the week.
Yeah, great segment.
Yeah, loved it.
Let's talk about some of the challenges you've had with your career today. What have been some of the hard parts that have kind of entered your world?
Like I said before, it's just balancing. You're not a main character. Like, you got to get out of that bubble. I think things came up to me really fast where I'm like, well, I'm doing something really cool. I'm doing something that I love as a job. But then, like, man, in the perspective of everything, it's like, it's not about you. There's more people involved in your life. Like, my partner, like trying to get out of that thing, like way of just being like, everything is there to serve you. I think what happens is naturally, like, we're in this world where content, when you're on camera, you're doing this, you're the main character. Yeah. And I think I've heard this quite a bit now. It's like personality versus persona. And, I see it. Like Dan's great at it. I see I'm like, his personality and persona is actually quite different. People only see the persona where he's kind of like, he's got the DDF printed on the back of his head. He's running around. It's like me.
Yep.
He's a really selfless guy, like outside of that, and really nice too. He gives a lot of time. And I think, unfortunately, it's not the case for everyone. I think if you're in the industry for a while and you have a little bit of self-awareness, you can understand it. I think for me, because it came really quickly, I didn't really understand it. And I thought it was like kind of like, oh no, this is like everything. Everyone's there to like serve me. No, I don't really care about anyone else. Oh, what do you do for work? I don't, whatever. Like, you're not like that explicitly, but that's kind of how you carry yourself. Yeah. And it's not great. And I know people that are like that as well. So it takes a bit of self-awareness to kind of go, what we're doing is fun and it's cool, but there's like bigger things in life. There's other people doing amazing stuff, and just like take the time to just appreciate a lot of other people and like maybe just see what they're going through. Because it helps you ultimately too to have perspective.
Yep. Question for you on that. Do you think you could have got to where you are now without having the level of obsession that has like the byproduct of stretching what's around you?
Absolutely not. You have to obsess. You have to obsess, but that doesn't mean you can't. Like, I obsessed like crazy, like doing everything, and I think I could have still been like that, but I just had a little bit more self-awareness just with people around me, just to kind of be like, do it in a healthy way. But I'm only 30, and I think it's just a part of growing up and learning.
And you've done the hard part now.
Yeah, yeah. And look, it's a whole lot of fun. I think there's the other challenge of it has been like, I think I told you offline, was like basically being someone of colour coming into this and doing something like this where there's not many people. It's ex-footballers.
Yep.
a lot of ex-footballers, Dan, Tommy,
Yep.
Dill, whoever it is, you can keep naming him. So it's like you're not really following a model. So that's been tricky.
But particularly like South Asians as well. Like, people might not know, but you were born in
Sri Lanka.
What's Cheets short for?
Uchitha.
Yeah.
Beautiful name. When it's like when you're at primary school, I remember it's like, oh, how do you pronounce your name? Uchitha. It's like, oh, Uchitha. Uchitha. I'm like, meeting my in-laws. It's like, oh, Uchitha. Oh, you better not cheat on Sarah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, great, fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for the name.
It's fine. So it just Cheats just rolls off better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice. And you were born in Sri Lanka. When did you come across to Australia?
Born in Sri Lanka, came in 97. I was about 3 years old, and then was in ESL, English. If you don't know what ESL is English as a second language.
Which I can't believe because you can't tell.
It's wild because my parents spoke Sinhalese, which is the language in Sri Lanka. So spoke really broken English until I was about like 10, 11. Used to say things like "gooda," oh, that's gooda, man, or "better." But that's just purely because you're only exposed to school and home, and that was interesting. But I've got this funny story. This is hilarious. I remember when I was in grade prep, and this is where my love for footy came because my brother loved North Melbourne. Never let me go for North Melbourne, thank God.
Your brother ever did.
When players come to the like schools and do like clinics and whatnot. I was like 6 years old at the time. And this is where I'm probably a confident kid because I didn't think twice. We had a school of about 200, 300 kids, probably even more than that. I was in grade prep and this is the assembly with everyone like there. And I remember Shannon Grant, Adam Simpson, I can't remember whoever it was. Someone like that. And they all came, they all like, just like answering questions. And the North Melbourne Football Club was sexy at the time because it was 99, 2000. They'd just come off a premiership. They're the team, they're the bee's knees. Basically, they're asking questions and I'm like, as a grade prep, I put my hand up and I think I spat this thing out where I didn't even, like, it wasn't even English. I don't know what it was, but all it came out was, how many times have you won the World Cup? My brother was just so embarrassed at the time. But I still remember this day. My brother was telling my dad about it. And I remember just cracking up laughing still now. It's so funny. And I remember that time. I still have that memory. Everyone laughed. I just like stumble. When kids stumble to what they want to ask? Yeah. That's literally what I did. And the fact that I obviously, at that time, I was probably thinking in Sinhalese, not even English. And then I just like stumbled there and I went, how many times have you won the World Cup? And I'm like, oh God. It was funny, very, very funny. But language was difficult. Was the repeat offender of a lot of, like, even when I was like, when I'd write captions and like even when I was at high school doing VCE, I found it difficult. English, I really struggled with English a little bit. And then even like to the point of like writing captions, there'd be times where I'm like, talk to my partner, I'm like, is this correct? And she's like, you can change this up. And I'm like, oh man, it's wild.
But didn't you got into law school, you mentioned before?
Well, I got into study law. Basically, I had this thing because I came from a low socioeconomic background. So it was like basically got like an 80 in the ATAR and then it's like it bumps you up because it's like a SNAP program thing where it was like a legal studies and disputes like course, which like it's a segue into it's like I think it was like less than law. It was like 90 ATAR, but it basically gets you to become a lawyer if you wanted to go down that pathway.
Like
stepping stone. So it wasn't exactly a law degree. It was something that RMIT offered. And it was just like, oh yeah, I'll do this because it'll make my parents proud. But like my English was just shit house even in year 12. But my legal studies was so good. My dad was a lawyer in Sri Lanka. So he was like, oh yeah, follow his like footsteps. And I'm like, nah.
How did you go with the pressure of like South Asian culture being like, here are the, careers laid out for you versus like you wanting to become a content creator?
I mean, it's interesting. I think we weren't conventional. Like our family, when we came here, there wasn't much Sri Lankan people around. There was a whole lot of other dynamics as well with the family. Like there was, like any family, a little bit dysfunctional. We didn't have much of a community. There was a lot of other issues that were there that we faced, not having a community. So my parents are living in Sri Lanka at the moment now, but they did it tough without too many people here to kind of lean on. And they always had the expectations of like, hey, do your studies and do all this kind of stuff, but they weren't as crazy. Like, they weren't like, man, I used to wag school. Like, they did the best they can, and like I used to I wag school and be like, yeah, went to school, did all that, and like because of the English barrier, it was like, oh yeah, it's fine. And they didn't have friends and people that they can kind of speak to, so that they did the best they can to look after us. But like I said, man, we're on welfare, so it was like, you know, Dad was working really hard, Mum was also working. And it's like they trust you a lot, and I'm like kind of fortunate. I have friends that kind of went the wrong pathway and got up to no good, and it's pretty sad. But I was kind of lucky that my brother helped a lot as well. Like we both, I was really grateful that I had that influence, and he had some good friends as well. But it was touch and go a lot of times. I mean, they had the expectations of, hey, you're going to school, you're doing well. Oh, you're going to uni, that's great. But they weren't like that actively involved. Like, you know, how some of these Southeast Asian parents, they're like, you got to go to tutor, you got to do this. It wasn't like that.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So you at least had the space to kind of, you know, explore what you wanted to do.
I think it's more because they financially couldn't afford to do that. But I think they, like, my dad would always try to sit with me and try to teach me, like with legal stuff or like school stuff. He would always be like on my case, but like weird as on my case, but wouldn't know if I wagged or not.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? I still don't even know what my ATAR was. Like, oh, you're going to uni, awesome. Fuck ATAR anyway.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, it means nothing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, kudos for you for getting to where you are, because like it is amazing seeing the diverse voices that now are on show for the AFL community, and there aren't too many South Asian people talking about footy to the extent that you are. Which you are, you know, trailblazing a way for other people to come after you as well. So well done for everything you've done.
No, I appreciate it, man. Like, you know, I think the goal is, and I've just had time to think about it, is like in 10 years' time, if I was to talk, if 18-year-old Cheets or, you know, 17-year-old Cheets is there, he's like got someone to look at and go, feel comfortable, look in a certain way. You know, even the family systems and stuff are a little bit different too, and the pressures. So I just want to, you know, pave the way for anyone else. I'd like, you know, I'm not trying to say that I'm just going to be this amazing role model. And
well, you already are. I mean, unless you are there other South Asian crazy?
I don't, not that I know of. I think there are amazing people doing other stuff in different, but I don't know if necessarily in the AFL world. But yeah, I think I just want to make it as comfortable and easy as possible. And if there's anyone out there like watching, and this is to anyone really, like I get some TikTok messages here and there asking like, what do you have to do? I'm like more than happy to help. So if there's anyone there, just feel free to shoot me a message. I have time for this stuff because like I think that helped me a lot. Like I was talking to you before about just being humble and approachable. I think what you do with that information is up to you, but I'm happy to give that time to anyone. Yeah, really.
Well, I mean, like all of that aside, like you are one of the best editors in the content out there.
No, I appreciate that, man.
Let's talk about your transition from SportsBet into becoming a freelancer.
Yeah.
So when did you first get the idea of like, you know, I might want to work for myself one day? And how did you take the steps between, you know, making that something you could jump into without, no money coming in to get going?
Interesting one, because I had TYPEMedia before SportsBet, and I had a building, and I think when I started working there, it had probably like 5,000 followers. I always looked at it like a portfolio. But then there's also like, you know, there's also restrictions with SportsBet that they can't touch. You know, they can't do Simpsons memes, and there's a lot of things that they can't do as a gambling company, and IP and use of footage and all sorts of stuff. And it's like, okay, I can still continue to keep this page going, because if I'm watching the game and I'm doing stuff, like I always thought of it like, when I'm working for SportsBet, it didn't feel like work because you're having a lot of fun. But I think over time what happens is like TYPEMedia was starting to grow, and I think my ambitions to be on camera, because I wasn't that confident being on camera. I like the idea of it, and I knew I had a bit of charisma, but it's just about getting a bit of polish. So I think I was first exposed to doing stuff on camera with SportsBet. And that was, you know, when I went into that process of should I work here, that was something that would always cross my mind to be like, hey, if I'm going to take that next step, this is something that I want to prioritize. So I always put my hand up to do everything in front of camera. And I'm like, okay, I started writing my own scripts. And I'm like, this is what I need to do. I need to be comfortable. And then just like assess how it's all going. And I used to look at people like Kick It Forward. Josh Garlip, I thought was one of the earliest to get in and do skit comedy. And I'm like, okay, there's some really cool things I can take away from this. Chocs Chat, I did some work with him, Jake, and he used to do some cool stuff as well. And I'm like, working with people, you kind of learn a lot, and then you find your own style. So don't try to mimic someone, but just take away what they do really well. And then your page grows. But essentially what happened was I was doing like basically double the load of work. And then like anything, by talking to people who are like, who are influencers or whoever, whatever they are, they're like, okay, this is how you can monetize this. And you go, okay, I'm doing so much work here. And then you just like land some awesome deals, like Royal Stacks deal, like the guy. I think it's underestimated how much people skills is required in terms of monetizing a creative project.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to not sell yourself, but you need to be able to have a personal connection with the people that are sponsoring you and putting their trust in you.
Yep.
And I go, what are my strengths? What am I good at? Where have I come from? I'm not saying go out there and give your whole, whole story of what's happening, but like connect with the people so it's beyond a transactional piece. And that's what happened with me at Royal Stacks. And now I realize what the guy who owns it, his values are. I go, these are mine, and I'm going to provide you the best service I can. This is what I can do. And my whole priority for him was like, this is what I can do, and this is what I'm going to deliver for you. And I went above and beyond in a sense where I'm like, I think he was like, yeah, let's give it a go. After I created content for him, I went on PowerPoint and did like a breakdown of the analytics, because like, I'm like, I just wanted to show, it's almost like a respect thing. Hey, you're investing your money in me. I'm more than happy to show you how this is working. A lot of people wouldn't have done that.
Yep.
I just did that because I'm like, I think I understood, like I put myself in his position. And he may not be like that, but I'm like, okay, he likes what I do. He's probably not familiar with the content space of things. And a lot of businesses are like, oh, they're just clicking a video, they're doing this, and they don't understand the value.
Yep.
So I wanted to like paint that picture and be like, to justify it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do it with him because he was clearly like, he trusted me a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that I did. Then over time, it's like, I didn't have to do that all the time.
I'm sure it would have reinforced his decision to sponsor you.
I think so too. And then I was able to have like, creative freedom and chat. And then he trusted me to kind of go with stuff. And then, we used to create the Royal Ranking and then some cool stuff there. And I think what happens is when you start doing one deal, then other deals come through, and then an agent will get in contact with you. I'll be like, hey, I've manage all these. I do marmalade stuff or whatever. And then
there's a Hotshot PR now looks after you.
Amazing Steph. She's a machine. She's such a good person. Could not speak highly of her. She does some great stuff and really good communicator, which is what you kind of need. So like, look, it's an interesting world. I think what happened is that the workload got too much, and I had developed the skills where I was doing skit comedy. So my plan was always to, like, when I came in, was SportsBet first, type second, but I wanted to learn as much as I can. Like, I enrolled in improv class while I was at SportsBet.
Cool.
Wild.
On your own dime?
No. SportsBet paid for that, which is cool. So I'm like, that's cool. That's like they were really accommodating with all that kind of stuff. I think the that kind of stuff, if you ever wanted to improve, the platform was there. I think it all came down to the individual, how much they wanted to get out of that. I think, it was like a year ago when I did it, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was interesting people, but you meet some good people. And then did that. And then once you get to a point where I'm like, I'm really skilled here, I back myself. It's a scary world, but I back myself. I knew what I was doing at SportsBet, and I'm like, I'm doing quite a lot here. There was a part of me where I'm like, I think someone told me this is like, once a janitor, always a janitor. It's like, I started at SportsBet editing just very basic Photoshop skills, editing on my phone, and just like the rapid rise. And I was like, man, I still feel like they look at me like that, even though I'm that good, where I'm like, I've been on overseas trips, and I'm like, there's people on the outside place that are like, mate, you're so skilled at what you do and everything. And I'm like, not that I had any sort of like resentment to it, but I'm like, I need, when you need to get out when you've been there, like I needed to get out just to form this, be like, no, I can do this with type. And that's not saying that I would never do any work with sports, but I think it's just like, when you work for a corporate environment like that, there's people that probably don't know all the work that goes in that make decisions. And then you go, rather than trying to grapple with that and try to fight that, you just got to make the decision and be like back yourself in.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I did. And like I said, like I've got amazing relationships that I formed there, and I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity. Like I bought my house because of working there full time, and I'll never go out there and be like, oh no, fuck gambling or anything like that. I understand there's elements and there's layers, but I got a lot out of it. Very appreciative. I think this is like it's the natural next stage in my life is going hard at this.
Yeah. Yep.
So
when like type started to become very big in the last couple of years or so, how did SportsBet interpret that? Because I'm sure they would have seen like you every single weekend just doing extra single work. And did it ever come up in conversation like, hey, Cheets, like you're working for us, but we see you doing a lot for yourself.
It's a good question.
When's this happening?
So what happens is this: when we work at SportsBet, we don't work a traditional 9 to 5.
Okay.
I think you find it's like a creative versus corporate. There's like a bit of a clash with that, which it's always trouble. Like it's always difficult to, because you got people the higher up being like, we need to hit these, and then there's a creative. I think there's always a disconnect between people in the front line and people making decisions above and trying to justify their positions and everything like that. I think what happened with me was that I would do stuff for SportsBet and I would be hitting it out of the park. Like I would actually be doing really well. But I'm like, in my spare time, I'd be up till 5 a.m. doing stuff for Type.
Yep.
And now the funny thing I always reflected was, had I not done anything for Type, they'd be like, Cheats, you're doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
But they see you doing all these other things. And sometimes there's people that aren't even aware of the parameters and like, oh, we can't post that. That's why I went up on Type. So naturally people ask a question being like, oh, or they were maybe too scared, but I can understand that they thought, oh, he's doing all this work for Type.
Yep.
But I'm like, just have a conversation. But then like, I started to get the vibe where I'm like, rather than talking to me and being like, hey, he's got some amazing skills. He's doing stuff in front of camera and like being like, let's go with him.
Yep.
It kind of fell away. But like I said, no hard feelings or anything like that. I think it just generally happens when you start working for a corporation.
Yep.
And things are changing and there's a lot of ego
Yep.
and stuff. And like I was sad when I had to leave, like because I formed really good memories and relationships with people and but I think like I'm telling you, it's just the next phase.
Yeah.
It's just about growth. For me, I think what you find at SportsBet is like amazing people work there, talented people, but no one has not many have like their side thing as a sports thing, which is very close, right? So that's what it was the tricky thing. And then when it got to a point where I'm like, because I built my own studio, I built everything, like my downtime was creating memes for Type.
Yep.
And I think it got tricky because they're like, oh, you're doing that? I'm like, no, I did that on my downtime.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no, you were using work hours. I'm like, no, it's my downtime.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just up and you just have deliverables to do for SportsBet. I'm like, smashing that as well.
Yep.
But it's like, you can't win sometimes with that. So you're just kind of like, all right, it's cool. It's fine. And again, like I said, this is just not hard feelings. It's just more about, the next phase.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. I had an experience at Cricket Australia where had an idea for a PR campaign during the T20 World Cup, but like I don't work in PR or comms. I was in digital and commercial. And so to go outside of my lane to do this, I basically had to create space. And so my boss would come back to me and be like, just get the basics right, make sure everything's being done. And I'd be like, yep, done. Is there anything else to do? And be like, no. So I'd go do the thing. But there was still that kind of tension of like, where's your time going? But you always make sure like you're getting your job done first.
That's exactly right. And I think what happens is that I think the conversation's not had to be like, hey, you're doing such an amazing job or you're doing this and that. Like, I think it's just like looking at it in a critical way, being like, oh, that's not enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hang on a minute, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard. It's tough. It's a one, I know. I think it's just like that generation of people that are running these things. It's quite new content and people taking initiative like yourself and doing all these things. It's a hard one to approach. So
well, it's particularly hard in large corporations as well because it's like Charlie Munger has a quote that says, show me the incentives and I'll tell you the outcome.
Yeah.
And so if you look at like all the people who are making decisions and, how they get money to put on their pocket to feed their family and whatnot, it's usually directed at their direct reports. And so, for me to go outside of my lane to do my thing, would perhaps impact the work that earns my boss his bonus, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And that is exactly what it is.
And that's not anybody's fault. It's like that's just the system we are kind of surrounded by.
Exactly. And I think I had to make that decision. I 100% couldn't agree anymore. That's kind of how it was. I think what you find as well in these kind of corporations is like there's a little bit of a disconnect between the people that are doing this creative stuff with people that are making these decisions. And I think the bigger that became, the more I'm like, well, I feel less valued and I don't want to have that. I saw elements of myself. I think this is another important part is like if you're, and I say this to anyone, if you're at a workplace and you've got aspirations and you've got all these things and then you see bad qualities of yourself, like I was engaging in venting that turned into shit talking and I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person. No. And I was like really filthy with myself because like it's not me.
Yep.
And I think as a human, you tend to do that.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to do that. It's like bickering, angry, annoying. And it's like a lot of it's like fuck the system kind of attitude. And I'm like, there was valid reasons for me to be upset, but it's just like it just became consuming.
Yep.
So you're like, I think once you start to see it take over your personality and like affect your personal life of how you approach situations and how you regulate yourself, then you kind of have to look within to be like, okay, maybe it's best if I leave here, take a risk. Well, what's seen as a risk, but it's calculated. Just take your time to weigh everything up.
Yep.
It was nerve-wracking the first 2 days. I think when I told him, it was just like, okay, I'm happy to make this decision.
Yep.
Felt like something was off my shoulders. But it was also like that Michael Jordan mentality.
Yeah.
Of like,
just make it work.
Yeah, but also like, okay, you think like this of me? Let's go. But it's like, you don't want to get too far in that because then it's like it just becomes consuming, right? It's not, but you just create this narrative in your head. You're like, okay, they think less of me. I'm going to do this, but that's not the truth.
No.
But it's like that's what I was grappling in the first 2-3 days, and then you're like, screw it, man. I'm having fun. I'm doing my own thing. I don't need to worry about any of that. So,
let's talk about AFL socials. If you were head of content at an AFL club, what would you be looking to do differently that you see clubs doing at the moment?
I think the best clubs, players are so keen to show themselves more than a footballer. Like they don't want when I was at the Bulldogs. And I know a couple of the boys there, and I'm like, they do a whole lot of cool stuff. And I'm like, the players are like bigger than footballers. They've got personalities, right? And they want to showcase this. And I think we're in this age where, I think players are slowly starting to feel comfortable to be on video, do all these kind of things. Where the old generation was like, oh, you're on video. Oh man, what a fucking loser. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's a fine. I know every football club, local football club, oh, you appeared on videos. That's a fine. Which is cool, which is okay. But I'm like, I think it was like this whole put down people for doing videos. Like that attitude is still there with the AFL, I feel like, with clubs. But it's slowly changing. If I was someone who's doing content, I would lean into showcasing as much as I can of the players and get really crafty with your editing skills and have your finger on the pulse. I know Hawthorn do it really well. I know Essendon did this one where Harry Jones was like doing a fixture release. It was so funny. And I'm like, I can see like everyone is obsessed with seeing footballers in a different light and it's like, let him be human.
Yep.
We're so sick of cliches. Let him, if someone's quirky and weird, lean into that. Like, why are we so in love with Libba? Because he's got all these quirky, like he's got Simpsons tattoos, he's got all these kind of things. Like, we want to see that.
Shaves his head and goes plays football in
Vietnam, but we obsess over that because you know what? That's what we see at the local level. And I think they're so robotic. If I was socials, I would be like leaning into a lot of that. Like GWS do a great job of it. Hawthorn do a great job of it. Good clubs do that. I think what you find is like the Collingwood, Carlton, Essendon's quite good actually. They're getting better. But Collingwood, Carlton, they're like, the ultimate goal is to drive membership.
Yep.
Okay, so if the directive's coming from above, if they've already got 100,000 members, they're like, nah, that's too risky. We're not doing that. Stick to the FT post, stick to the most. And I don't blame anyone at the level of like the creative level at those clubs. I think it's just the way that's from top down, what they're fed. It's like if it's not broke, don't fix it. But the problem with that is you can get left behind a little bit, and like the new supporters that are coming through are more likely to resonate with like GWS, Hawthorn, St Kilda's doing a good job now of it as well. They're showing their players. They're having a little bit of banter, a bit of fun. Just even Ross, they're getting Ross involved in stuff, which is really good. So I think the big clubs, they don't want to do it. It's not safe, but the risk of getting left behind.
What about what opportunity do you reckon there is for creators with a new angle? Because like all the prominent guys like yourself have got your own different type of angle. But what sort of spaces do you think is still available out there? I mean, this is kind of a lot of it is dependent on like the personality of the person.
Yeah, I think so too.
But for example, my ex-girlfriend used to come with me to the footy, and she would just like give her perspective on what was playing out in the field. And I was like, this is funny, and it's got nothing to do with the football.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are like other girls in their mid-20s who would like just love to hear this sort of chat. Like you should start a TikTok page just talking about the footy.
It's funny.
The way that you do.
Yeah.
Do you see any other opportunities?
100%. Yeah, there's so much. Like I was watching the NFL. I'm like, I don't know anything of the NFL, and I had the same kind of thing. And I'm like, I'd love to do this thing in the NFL. I think footy's the same. If you want to grow the game, you have to have different lens on it. You can't just have this analytical being like, yeah, champion data has these kind of stats or this kind of thing. So I'm always challenging myself to be like, yeah, I've got that audience, but there's also people that don't know footy that would like. So the way I look at sport is it's this drama.
Yep.
Why do we obsess over Jack Ginnivan and Ken Hinkley and all this kind of stuff? Because we can relate it to drama. We can explain that to someone who doesn't know footy, and then they're engaged by it. No one cares about who can hit a 45-degree kick. Like no one.
Yep.
I mean, the diehards will, but you're not bringing people into the game that they're like, oh, whatever. I don't understand where that, like, people who would watch that would be like, I don't know where that sits, but what I would do is that, hey, that guy did a funny ass celebration and he was walking around. And the purists hate this, but this is how you grow the game. So you've got to find ways to kind of appeal. Like, and this is what I would say. Like, I'm trying to think of this now at the moment with the AFL.
Yep.
Is because like just finding ways to explain things. And I trialed this with the cricket, because cricket's one of those sports where you have to be a diehard.
Yep.
It's really hard to bring in new fans. It's so hard. Cricket's really tough to bring in people who are in their, let's say in their 20s.
Yep.
That didn't really grow up with cricket. I reckon cricket probably has the toughest time bringing people over, unless you just go
rusted on or you're not.
Yeah, unless you go, hey, there's beers and stuff. And it's like, okay, I'll come just for a day, but they don't understand. Whereas like last year, I'm like, find the narratives that are within the game and just pump it up. And it's like the old WWE thing of just trying to create a promo, like Boomerang against Sam Constas, who's like this 19-year-old kid, and he's doing all these things, and give it a bit of context into, like, you don't have to explain what a scoop and stuff is. Be like, hey, no, this is fucking outrageous because no one's done this. And then people can go, oh, nah, I get it. I don't watch it. I used to use, like you said, I used to do this with my girlfriend and my partner, where I'm like, basically, I'm like, no, this is what's happening with the Sammy Constas thing. And she's like, oh, okay, I get it.
I love that series. That was great.
Yeah. And I'm like, light bulb, I can do this. Like,
this.
Yeah. But then I'm like, I don't obviously want to be like mansplaining.
Yeah.
So that was a tricky part. So I'm like, I'll make it very broad to make it look like, I'm explaining something. It's almost like cricket for dummies, footy for dummies. That style of thing.
There's a creator in LA, I believe, who does like a USA person's take on the footy. Have you seen her?
Yeah, she's good. LA. I thought she was AI for a while because her backdrops are always too good.
We'll have to check that.
Nah, I don't think she is.
But even like, people giving their take on the AFL just from like a random country around the world.
Yeah, Josiah. Have you seen Josiah? Jesus Loves You Guy?
No,
he's a creator. It's funny. I still don't understand the shtick. He does this thing at the end where he's like, Jesus loves you. But he did this thing. It was like, I was watching the footy yesterday, man. And like the Crows and the Pies, they played in a final and no one was getting eliminated, man. I was like, what? What is this? Like, and Nick Dacos was like, this is the biggest game, but no one's going home. It was so funny to hear that take. And I'm like, you know what? He's right. Like, if you compare it to NFL, like you play one game, you're out.
Yeah.
Like,
you also get a point for missing in footy.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense.
Which is wild. Yeah. But it's interesting to see other creators like that, because then you can kind of go, because we just go into this like whole nuffy, stats, contested possessions, or this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, I don't think that's really that appealing to everyone. It's not how you bring new people in. So the goal is these organisations like the AFL, and this is what I say to everyone, anything that you're trying to work with, if you're trying to work with the NBL, you're trying to work with this, all they're looking at is like how you can bring in new people into the game. So challenge yourself to be like, yeah, I'm a fan of this sport, but how do I bring that like style to like always think of like how am I going to try and bring people through my content? And that's where I'm at the moment, where I'm like, without taking too much integrity to be like, this is a drop kick. It's just kind of the way I see it is like I'm a big storyteller through the narratives and everything like that. So that's what I do naturally with the memes.
Well, I mean, it ladders up perfectly to like the objectives of the AFL, for example. Like their goal would be like increase attendance and viewership and bring more people to the game. And so if you are tapping into an audience that adds to that, it's like box tick. Whereas if you're a creator who's just kind of like, you know, speaking to existing fans, that's not really going to drive the same sort of
It's not,
outcome.
and you might get a lot of likes and stuff. The key is this, right? Don't get caught up in likes and followers and stuff. And this is where I always say it's just where it's coming from is the most important thing. If you're already getting likes and followers from people that are already following AFL, yeah, that's great. Which is not most of mine is. So it's like a bit hypocritical for me. But what I try to do is like when I see comments being like, "Hey, this is the way I keep up with the footy" or something, and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool," and then I see people being like, "Oh, I showed this to my girlfriend or showed this to someone," and I'm like, "That's great," because you know why? It's got that appeal of understanding. Like yesterday when Collingwood won, and I'm like, "Well, this is the feel," like you know, and then people can understand the narrative by watching that.
Side note, you need to screenshot that and add it to your next pitch deck.
Yeah, I should. Hey, yeah.
I've really enjoyed this. We need to wrap it up. But before we do, would love to know, like, if you were starting out again today and you had 90 days to go from 0 followers, like fresh account, to getting a sponsorship deal worth $1,000, what would you do?
Okay, get yourself on camera. That's the key thing. Who cares if it's shit? But saying that, a lot of people try to do that. You need to do like what the corporate world says RLI, which is like reflect, learn, and I can't remember the high. Okay, anyway,
Outcome or something, or
I don't know, but they were called it RLIs, which is be kind of like look over the processes and stuff. Yep. So when you do videos and stuff, always be positive with yourself. I think we always kind of I hate seeing myself on camera and stuff. No, do stuff. Be like, how can I make that better? Because I look at my videos when I made it start, I'm like, not great, but I kept improving. But I think if you want to get brand deals, memes and stuff, yeah, they're all good. They're great for a tone. But I would say if I had to do it, I would have thrown myself in the deep end to do more video stuff, to show yourself, show your personality, show who you are, and don't try to copy someone else. Like, I would always go, why do your friends like you, or why do your family like you, or what makes you who you are?
Yep.
And try and speak through your content like that. So that's what I am. I'm like, I always go lovable, smart ass, and always show a bit of color and personality, and always have these like random pieces of like TV show things that I can kind of bring up. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel comfortable that my content is me. So when brands come to me, they know exactly what it is. So that I would say 90 days, get yourself in camera as quick as possible, have a range of different content, whether it's like something's happened, you can kind of quickly react to that. Skits, don't be afraid to do all that kind of stuff. And then also memes, have a range of skills, because even if you don't get brand deals, you can upskill yourself to a point where you might be able to do a full-time job somewhere in content. So
I'd say of those three, like skits is probably the hardest to replicate.
It's very hard, but you only get better the more you put yourself in camera.
But with that comes more opportunity as well.
Exactly. Well, the best thing that I've done is I've been able to show a lot of range in different things, whether it's editing, whether it's going and doing a brand deal, and I'm like still in the process of doing that, because I think the evolution for me is like going from a meme page to showcase, hey, I write, I do skits, I also do podcast cut downs.
Yep.
We're going to have a podcast come up next year, which will be cool. Type Talks, make sure you tune in. But yeah, just try to do, I know it sounds a bit counterproductive, but I would try to understand how all these different layers of content's such a big space. I don't know, do you know Sench Footy?
Yeah.
Sench Footy does an amazing job.
Dylan Humphries, shout out to him.
Shout out to him. Does a great job. Does a great job.
Another person who doesn't sleep.
Yeah, exactly. But then I look at him and I'm like, I take that away. But then I'm like, okay, what are things that I could do that's different? Like, I'm on camera, I'm doing all these kind of things. And I'm like, the way I might be like, post something. Then I'm like, that's a piece of content that can do. So just try to take bits and pieces of everywhere, kick it forward. Try and take as much as you can from different people and just upskill yourself in 90 days. The best way to upskill yourself is get yourself on camera, edit your own stuff. Have zero expectations of making money. Just learning is your form of currency. What you learn is going to go a long way.
I'm sure there's a lot of people taking notes right now.
Yeah.
Last one for you. Is there anyone in your network who you would love to see on this podcast who you don't know much about their career journey that you'd love to hear more about?
In my network, Brandon Jack is really good. I've only caught up with him for a beer, and I have good banter with him. But he's very interesting as someone who's played football, and now trying to make it as a writer. And, you know, he's got a couple books. I might do some stuff with him soon. But yeah, definitely someone who could get on and speak to.
Awesome.
Yeah,
might have to connect with him.
Yeah, definitely give him a shout out, and
yeah. Wonderful. Well, Cheets, thanks for coming in here. Thanks for sharing your journey. I'm constantly impressed by your output all the time. And so to hear what goes into it and to kind of share with the world, like just how hard you work, was awesome. So thanks for coming in.
I think this is the most I've ever spoken on a podcast. So really, I appreciate it. Thanks for that.
Well, I could have gone for another hour and a half, to be honest.
Yeah, I feels comfortable. It's like we're just having a beer and just chilling out. And
well, we need to take two.
Yeah.
Check back in a year's time. How's the business going?
Yeah, exactly. Back at SportsBet. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
No, it's good. Thanks for having me, mate. Really appreciate it. And yeah, super comfortable talking to you about some of these things, which is really nice. A testament to you as well.
Thank you.
Did a great job. Yeah.
Cheers. Hey guys, quick one. Are you either A, dreading going back to work tomorrow, or B, on a mission to fulfill your potential and get there as quickly as possible? If so, then you need to apply for the SportsGrad Method program. The program is designed to help you get a full-time job in sport as quickly as possible, and inside it, I distill the lessons I've learned from asking over 300 people how they got a job in sport. I'm talking professionals from the AFL, Premier League, cricket, NBA, Olympics, you name it. And I've combined it with the methods that not only got me hired by Cricket Australia before graduating, but also helped me double my salary during COVID. SportsGrad has helped people land over 700 roles in sport, and this program takes the guesswork out of an industry where most people think you need to get lucky. To apply for the SportsGrad Method program, head to www.sportsgrad.com.au/program.